Out in the country, there's a village called Sion Mills. Strange things happen here. On the cricket pitch, an Irish team once beat the West Indies. And at the school, even more extraordinary, there are no clergy of either religion on the board, and the children of Catholics and Protestants are going to school together. There are a few other primary schools with roughly equal numbers of Catholics and Protestants, but this is the only big one. There are 350 children mixing here.
Sion Mills between two hills is a village neat and clean, and tourists say that they have travelled far, but no finer place than they have seen. There's a spinning mill on the River Mourne, where the village gets its name.
Sion Mills School is sheltered. For 130 years, the linen mill, which dominates the village and which set up the school, has kept all churches off the school board. Children of Catholics and Protestants in the same school, taught half by Catholics and half by Protestants, and only laymen on the board. Could this help to stop them becoming enemies? What do their parents think?
I think it's good for children to mix together different religions because they learn then that everyone's the same, really.
I have been to science school all my life and lived in the village. And we think it's a very good idea.
If there was more of this, I think the troubles would be, a lot better, if there was, mixed schools.
When you see how well they mix and play together, and religion never seems to come into it at all, when in the playground there.
And if people learn from a very early age to grow together, well, surely it's bound to be a help, and there's not such a great divide when they grow older.
Then along that river bank 1,000 miles, tattooed cannibals danced in files. Then I heard the boom of the bloodlust song and a thigh bone beating on a tin pan gong. And blood screamed the whistles and the fifes of the warriors. Blood screamed.
Their village hasn't been unscathed in the Troubles, but it does claim to have been more peaceful than most. They say there's a higher level of intermarriage here too. Local people, like Avril Scott, she is the headmaster's wife and a senior teacher, count their blessings and think the school is part of the reason.
Well, I feel as a mother that it's very important to bring your children up to regard the other side, as it were, as being human beings and natural Christians. And the staff here are very willing to do that. People think because you're teaching in a school like this that it may be very difficult, but it's not. And it teaches you great tolerance of the other side as well. You have to think of both sides all the time, no matter what happens.
Mr. Scott, what happens when it comes to religious education classes?
Well, they have the religious education period from 12 o'clock until 12:30.
That's every day?
Every day of the week.
And at that point, do they separate?
They separate for half an hour only.
And that sounds a pity in the context of having everything else integrated.
Well, that's the powers to be have brought that into the Education Act.
My girl of 10 came home the other day and said to me, "Mummy, what am I? Am I a Protestant or a Catholic?" And I said, "You're a Protestant." And she said, "I thought so, but I wasn't sure." And I said, why are you asking? She said, "They were talking about why do we separate at 12 o'clock. And I said, "Well, you know that you go with the Protestant." She said, "I know that, but I just wanted to make sure."
It's second row.
Even at Sion Mills, there can't be complete integration. This is a Protestant RE class.
And today we're going to have a sword drill, and in it we're going to look at some of the verses in which Jesus describes himself to his followers. So everybody, their Bibles out, and sheath your swords. The first verse, draw your sword. John 10, verse 11.
John 10, verse 11.
Charge. Elaine.
I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep.
Right, there's a verse which describes Jesus. Jesus the good shepherd. Can you remember?
It's the first time their teacher has been in an integrated school. Sandra Kincaid.
I find it's really great because the children have it so much more benefit from their education than I ever had, because they mix with each other, and they're not aware when they're in the classroom who's a Protestant, who's a Catholic. They just see their own interests. The best of Protestant's friend is probably a Roman Catholic, and they sit together, and it just doesn't make any difference to them at all.
Are you enjoying yourself here?
Yes. It's absolutely terrific, and the atmosphere in the school is really happy, and it's just like one great big family.
Can I ask you this? It's probably a very personal question, but how important is your faith to you, your Protestant faith?
It's extremely important to me. I respect the Roman Catholic's point of view, but I certainly am practicing Protestant.
Even here, in an integrated school, the Catholic children and the Protestant children have one lesson every day separately, the religious education lesson. Do you think that may still be contributing towards keeping the two sides apart in the wider picture of the troubles in Northern Ireland?
It possibly is, but I think it's very, very difficult just at the moment to change things dramatically overnight. They do separate, but in the context of the school, I don't really think that it does separate them, because it's for half an hour. They come back, and most of that's for only half an hour of the day. The rest of the day that there is spent together. Is
there something in you that thinks maybe they really ought to be together, maybe it would be better that way?
I do think, there is something within me that says yes, that they should be together.
He leads by still waters, I'll walk with him away, 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 I'll walk with him away, 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 I'll walk with him away. The Lord is my shepherd, I'll walk with him away.
Well, when was your own church?
3 local clergy with no say in the running of the local school. The Protestants, the Church of Ireland and the Presbyterian, are quite happy about it. But what does the Catholic priest think about the fact that he can only get inside the school as a visitor?
Gentlemen, you have what seems to be a very successfully integrated school running here.
Very successfully coordinated but not integrated. We have the Catholics who have more than 50% of the children at the school have no say in the management or the management committee or the appointments of teachers.
I believe, in fact, none of you three, none of the clergy have any place on the board of the school.
Quite,
is that right?
Quite
that's very unusual, isn't it?
This is true.
In Northern Ireland, it's most unusual.
This is true. This is where I reckon that somebody should spell out what they mean by integrated education. Integrated education, to me, basically would mean one very simple thing, that the churches whose congregations go to the school should have a say in the administration of the school.
Does it worry you, Father, that you don't have a say?
It doesn't worry me anymore, because this school's for demolition.
When that happens, they're going to build a new school here. The Catholic priest still won't be on the board, but he has managed to gain the right to choose 2 Catholics who will be, so his church will have some hold on the children.
A poet who comes from these parts has written, "Whatever you say nothing." There is a conspiracy of silence in Northern Ireland. One of the victims of the Troubles is truth, and none of the teachers you've heard in this report has felt really free to speak his mind. Privately, people will tell you what they think, but then they say things like,